in the history of our country, by the way, spurned our most trusted and long-standing Gulf partners, and I can say partners worldwide, one of our great, great partners, no matter who we look to, and we have great partners in the world, but we have none stronger and nobody like the gentleman that's right before me. He's your greatest representative, greatest representative. And if I didn't like him, I'd get out of here so fast. You know that, don't you? He knows me well. I do. I like him a lot. I like him too much. That's why we give so much, you know? Too much. I like you too much. Great guy. They lifted sanctions on Iran in exchange for getting nothing, and sent the regime tens of billions of dollars to fund terror and death all over the world. And they laughed at him. They laughed at our leader. And they're still laughing at our leader. They thought him a fool. And they made nothing but trouble ever since, including the funding of October 7th, one of the worst days ever in the history of the Middle East. Horrible day. Biden removed the Houthis from the list of foreign terrorist organizations, even while missiles and drones were being launched right here at your beautiful city of Riyadh, and launched at ships if they happened to be sailing in the wrong location. The Biden administration's extreme weakness and gross incompetence derailed progress toward peace, destabilized the region, and put at risk everything we had worked so hard to build together. And when you think of the great achievements that you've made, to do it in light of a pretty hostile administration, an administration that was not a believer, it makes your achievements even greater. Makes them even greater, you know that. But in a few short months since taking office, we have achieved the swift return of American strength at home and abroad, now working with the vast majority of people in this region who seek stability and calm. Our task is to unify against the few agents of chaos and terror that are left and that are holding hostage the dreams of millions and millions of great people. The biggest and most destructive of these forces is the regime in Iran, which has caused unthinkable suffering in Syria, Lebanon, Gaza, Iraq, Yemen, and beyond. There could be no sharper contrast with the path you have pursued on the Arabian Peninsula than the disaster unfolding right across in the Gulf of Iran. Think of that. They wanted to name it that. I said, they're not going to let them do that. Do you mind if I stop that? I stopped it. We're not going to let that happen. While you have been constructing the world's tallest skyscrapers in Jeddah and Dubai, Tehran's 1979 landmarks are collapsing into rubble and dust. They had it going for a little while under a much different system, but those buildings are largely falling apart, falling down, while you're building some of the world's biggest and most incredible infrastructure projects, buildings, all sorts of things you're building that nobody's ever even seen before. Iran's decades of neglect and mismanagement have left the country plagued by rolling blackouts lasting for hours a day. All the time you hear about it. While your skill has turned dry deserts into fertile farmland, Iran's leaders have managed to turn green farmland into dry deserts as their corrupt water mafia, it's called it the water mafia, causes droughts and empty riverbeds. They get rich, but they don't let the people have any of it. And then, of course, there's the key difference at the root of it all. While the Arab states have focused on becoming pillars of regional stability and world commerce, Iran's leaders have focused on stealing their people's wealth to fund terror and bloodshed abroad. Most tragic of all, they have dragged down an entire region with them. Countless lives were lost in the Iranian effort to maintain a crumbling regime in Syria. Look at what happened with Syria. In Lebanon, their Hezbollah proxies have pillaged the hopes of a nation whose capital, Beirut, was once called the Paris of the Middle East. Can you imagine? All of this misery and so much more was entirely avoidable, absolutely avoidable. And Mohammed knew that. He knew that. Smart people knew that. If only the Iranian regime had focused on building their nation up instead of tearing the region down. Yet I'm here today not merely to condemn the past chaos of Iran's leaders, but to offer them a new path and a much better path toward a far better and more hopeful future. As I've shown repeatedly, I am willing to end past conflicts and forge new partnerships for a better and more stable world, even if our differences may be very profound, which obviously they are in the case of Iran. I have never believed in having permanent enemies. I am different than a lot of people think. I don't like permanent enemies, but sometimes you need enemies to do the job, and you have to do it right. Enemies get you motivated. In fact, some of the closest friends of the United States of America are nations we fought wars against in generations past, and now they're our friends and our allies. I want to make a deal with Iran. If I can make a deal with Iran, I'll be very happy if we're going to make your region and the world a safer place. But if Iran's leadership rejects this olive branch and continues to attack their neighbors, then we will have no choice but to inflict massive, maximum pressure, drive Iranian oil exports to zero, like I did before. If you know that, they were a virtually bankrupt country because of what I did. They had no money for terror. They had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah, and take all action required to stop the regime from ever having a nuclear weapon. Iran will never have a nuclear weapon. But with that said, Iran can have a much brighter future, but will never allow America and its allies to be threatened with terrorism or nuclear attack. The choice is theirs to make. We really want them to be a successful country. We want them to be a wonderful, safe, great country, but they cannot have a nuclear weapon. This is an offer that will not last forever. The time is right now for them to choose. Right now, we don't have a lot of time to wait. Things are happening at a very fast pace. They're happening right here. They're happening at a very fast pace. So they have to make their move right now, one way or the other. Make your move. As I said in my inaugural address, my greatest hope is to be a peacemaker and to be a unifier. I don't like war. We have the greatest military, by the way, in the history of the world. You know, I rebuilt our military in my first 4 years and rebuilt it into the most powerful military there is. And you saw that when I knocked out ISIS in 3 weeks. People said it would take 4 years, 5 years. I did it. We did it in 3 weeks. Just days ago, my administration successfully brokered a historic ceasefire to stop the escalating violence between India and Pakistan. And I used trade to a large extent to do it. I said, fellas, come on, let's make a deal. Let's do some trading. Let's not trade nuclear missiles. Let's trade the things that you make so beautifully. And they both have very powerful leaders, very strong leaders, good leaders, smart leaders. And it all stopped. Hopefully it'll remain that way, but it all stopped. I was very proud of Marco Rubio and all of the people that worked so hard. Marco, stand up. What a great job you did on that. Thank you, J.D. Vance, Marco. The whole group worked with you, but it was a great job. And I think they're actually getting along. Maybe we can even get them together a little bit, Marco, where they go out and have a nice dinner together. Wouldn't that be nice? But we've come a long way, and it could be, you know, millions of people could have died from that conflict that started off small and was getting bigger and bigger and bigger by the day. I've also been working relentlessly to end the terrible bloodshed between Russia and Ukraine, and very importantly, talks are being held in Turkey later this week, probably on Thursday, and they could produce some pretty good results. Our people are going to be going there. Marco's going to be going there. Others are going to be going, and we'll see if we can get it done 5,000 people, young people for the most part, soldiers from Ukraine, soldiers from Russia. They're not from here and they're not from the United States, but they're souls. They're souls. I think usually, mostly, they're young, beautiful souls that left their parents waving goodbye, left their brothers and sisters. Goodbye, I'll see you soon. And they got blown to pieces. 5,000 on average a week are dying. And people are dying elsewhere in the region, but tremendous numbers like we haven't seen since World War II are dying. And I want to stop it. I want to stop it. It's a horrible war. Would have never happened if I were president. That's a war that would have never happened. October 7th would have never happened if I were president, because Iran had no money to pay Hamas or anybody else. They had no money. They were not looking to take care of them. They had to take care of themselves. They had no money. We stopped their oil effectively with the embargoes and sanctions. But let me take this opportunity to thank the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for the constructive role that you've played in facilitating the Ukraine talks. And it really is, you've been amazing. You've made everything available to us. Thank you very much. Thank you. And if we get that settled, we'll pay a special tribute to what you've done. You really did lay a great groundwork. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. The West should not be dragging itself backward into another endless war in Europe, yet another endless war. We should stop the killing and work together to address the biggest long-term threats as one unbeatable team. Think of us as an unbeatable team. I mean, when you look at what you've done here, that's much more difficult than stopping stupidity. Think of it. It's stupidity. What you've done is much more difficult, and you did it better than anybody else has ever done it. As President of the United States, my preference will always be for peace and partnership whenever those outcomes can be achieved. Always. It's always going to be that way. Only a fool would think otherwise. In recent years, far too many American presidents have been afflicted with the notion that it's our job to look into the souls of foreign leaders and use U.S. policy to dispense justice for their sins. They loved using our very powerful military, and now it's really the most powerful it's ever been. We just are getting a budget approved, $1 trillion, highest budget we've ever had in history for military, $1 trillion. And we're getting the greatest missiles, the greatest weapons. And, you know, I hate to do it, but you have to do it because we believe in peace through strength. You have to have the strength, otherwise bad things could happen. But hopefully we'll never have to use any of those weapons. Seems to be an awfully big waste of money if you're never going to use them, but hopefully we'll never have to use them, because the destructive power of some of those weapons are like nobody's seen before. I believe it is God's job to sit in judgment, my job to defend America and to promote the fundamental interest of stability, prosperity, and peace. That's what I really want to do. I will never hesitate to wield American power if it's necessary to defend the United States or to help defend our allies. And there will be no mercy for any foe who tries to do us or them harm. We will have no mercy. They understand that. That's why I've been pretty lucky. A lot of people think, you know, he's looking to fight. He's looking to fight, and things get settled. It's an amazing thing when they really think you mean it. But we do. We have the greatest military, the strongest military, stronger than any. Nobody's even close. We have the best weapons in the world, but we don't want to use them. If you threaten America or our partners, however, then you'll be faced with overwhelming strength and devastating force. We have things that you don't even know about, you don't hear about, and if you did, you'd say, wow. In recent weeks, following repeated attacks on American ships and freedom of navigation in the Red Sea, the United States military launched more than 1,100 strikes on the Houthis in Yemen. As a result, the Houthis agreed to stop. They said, we don't want this anymore. It's the first time you've heard that from them, too. They're tough. They're fighters. But just days ago, we were asked to cease targeting commercial. They were not going to be targeting commercial ships in any way, shape, or form, or anything American. And they were very happy that we stopped. But we had 52 days of thunder and lightning like they've never seen before. This was a swift, ferocious, decisive, and extremely successful use of military force. Not that we wanted to do it, but they were shooting down ships. They were shooting at you. They were shooting at Saudi Arabia. We don't want them shooting at Saudi Arabia, if that's okay. So we hit them hard. We got what we came for, and then we got out. Since January 20th, the U.S. military has terminated 83 terrorist leaders operating across Iraq, Syria, and Somalia, including ISIS's #2 global leader. You read about that just recently. With the help of Pakistan, we apprehended the ISIS terrorists responsible for the attack on 13 American service members at Abbey Gate, that horrible, horrible disaster. During this Afghanistan withdrawal, you know, that's another thing that we don't even think about so much anymore. 13 died, but 42 were horribly wounded. But hundreds of people died overall, because I count the people on the other side. Hundreds of people just grossly incompetent. It's probably why Putin decided to go into Ukraine, something he never would have done if I were president. But we wouldn't have had the problems of October 7th if I were president. We wouldn't have had Ukraine, Russia if I were president. We wouldn't have had Abbey Gate, because there wouldn't have been any reason we were getting out, but we were getting out with dignity and with strength and power. But the way they got out was not good. I think it was the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. And we've been working tirelessly to bring back all hostages held by Hamas. We brought back a lot already, but we're bringing back more. This weekend, we successfully negotiated the release of the last American hostage, Alexandra. Just came out a few hours ago, and we continue to work to get that war ended as quickly as possible. It's a horrible thing that's taking place. All civilized people must condemn the October 7th atrocities against Israel, which would never have happened again if you had probably a different president, but definitely if you had me as president. The people of Gaza deserve a much better future, but that will or can not occur as long as their leaders choose to kidnap, torture, and target innocent men, women, and children for political ends. The way those people are treated in Gaza, there's not a place in the world where people are treated so badly. It's horrible. After years of suffering, two of the nations most ravaged by terror are finally beginning to end their long nightmares under the new generation of leaders. In Lebanon, where a friend of mine has just become the ambassador. He's going to be great. I said, you know, that could be a very dangerous job. He said, I was born there. I'm Lebanese. I love that country. I said, but it's very dangerous. You know, this is a friend of mine from New York. I said, but it's very dangerous. Are you sure you want to do it? I never thought of him as being a warrior, but he is a warrior. He loves his country. He said, if I'm injured or die, I'm dying for a country that I love. He grew up there. It's horrible what's happened in Lebanon, but you have a great ambassador, I can tell you that. In Lebanon, which has been endlessly victimized by Hezbollah and their sponsor, Iran, a new president and prime minister brought the first real chance in decades for a more productive partnership with the United States, and we're going to work with their new ambassador and everybody else, Marco, and we're going to see if we can really help them out and let them get over that very high grid that they're going to have to get over. My administration stands ready to help Lebanon create a future of economic development and peace with its neighbors. They have tremendous people in Lebanon, doctors, lawyers, great professional people. I hear it so many times. Likewise, in Syria, which has seen so much misery and death, there is a new government that will hopefully succeed in stabilizing the country and keeping peace. That's what we want to see in Syria. They've had their share of travesty, war, killing, many years. That's why my administration has already taken the first steps toward restoring normal relations between the United States and Syria for the first time in more than a decade. And I'm very pleased to announce that Secretary Marco Rubio will be meeting with the new Syrian foreign minister in Turkey later this week. And very importantly, after discussing the situation in Syria with the Crown Prince, your Crown Prince, and also with President Erdogan of Turkey, who called me the other day and asked for a very similar thing, among others, and friends of mine, people that I have a lot of respect for in the Middle East. I will be ordering the cessation of sanctions against Syria in order to give them a chance at greatness. Oh, what I do for the Crown Prince. The sanctions were brutal and crippling and served as an important, really an important function, nevertheless, at the time. But now it's their time to shine. It's their time to shine. We're taking them all off, and they're going to have, I think they're going to have, based on the people and the spirit and everything else that I'm hearing about. So I say, good luck, Syria. Show us something very special like they've done, frankly, in Saudi Arabia, okay? They're going to show us something special. Very good people. Everywhere we can, my administration is pursuing peaceful engagement, offering a strong and steady hand of friendship to all that will take it in good faith. Together, we have made unprecedented strides and tremendous progress, and we're still just at the dawn of the bright new day that awaits for the people of the Middle East, the great, great people of the Middle East. If the responsible nations of this region seize this moment, put aside your differences and focus on the interests that unite you, then all of humanity will soon be amazed at what they will see right here in this geographic center of the world. It really is. It's like a center of the world and the spiritual heart of its greatest faiths. For the first time in 1,000 years, the world will look at this region not as a place of turmoil and strife and war and death, but as a land of opportunity and hope, just like you've done right here, a cultural and commercial crossroads of the planet. Security and stability will lift millions into lives of safety and success, and the nations of this region will be free to realize your highest destinies, honor your proud histories, harness amazing new opportunities, and bring incredible glory to Almighty God. People will come from all over the globe to be inspired by the cities you build, the businesses you create, the technologies you invent, and the beauty, talent, and potential you unleash right in the hearts of your citizens. Each of you will be able to take tremendous pride in the legacy you will leave to your children, because you will have given them the ultimate blessings of prosperity and peace, so important. In the United States, we've launched the golden age of America. It's the golden age. We see it. We see it with all that money, trillions and trillions of dollars pouring in, hundreds of thousands of jobs coming in with it. And with the help of the people of the Middle East, the people in this room, partners throughout the region, the golden age of the Middle East can proceed right alongside of us. We will work together. We will be together. We will succeed together. We will win together. And we will always be friends. Thank you. So, Mohammed, I want to thank you again very much for having me. And as a representative of what I think is the greatest nation in the world, we are with you all the way, and you have a tremendous future. Thank you very much. And please pay my respects to your father. Thank you very much. Thank you.
There you have it. President Trump speaking at the Saudi-U.S. Investment Forum in Saudi Arabia. The president was greeted with a royal welcome when he arrived. The Crown Prince are seeking to highlight close ties between the two countries. We're going to take it from Saudi Arabia back here to the States, Annapolis, Maryland to be exact, where Maryland Governor Wes Moore signing some 170 bills into law. Let's go ahead and take a listen in.
This is the most comprehensive piece of Chesapeake Bay legislation that Maryland has seen in years, and I cannot wait to sign it. And at a time when we see how our federal administration has stepped back from protecting our air and our water, Maryland is stepping up. And the reason that we are so proud of this legislation is because we know who it is going to help. Nia Moya is the founder and owner and operator of Beauty Bloom Farms in Montgomery County. She is focused on farming practices that improve soil health, so the land that she works on today remains productive tomorrow and for generations to come. Nia's outlook marries economic growth with public service, doing what she can both to feed the community while also being a good steward of the land. Beauty Bloom Farm is housed on state property that was leased to Nia by our Department of Natural Resources, and that kind of partnership is rare. But the Bay Legacy Act will make these kinds of lease agreements easier, making it easier to strike these kind of agreements between our administration and our farmers. This way, more Marylanders like Nia can benefit from state support and grow their businesses, and more Marylanders can benefit from the kind of support that farmers like Nia are providing to us. And so Nia, for all of your trailblazing work and for all the work that you did to make today happen, I want to present you with our first ceremonial pen with a deep set of gratitude from the people of the state of Maryland. God bless you, Nia, and thank you so much. And now with that, I am honored to turn the podium over to my partner and our remarkable Lieutenant Governor, Aruna Miller.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's a great honor to be with all of you, and especially Sergeant Kep. What an honor to be in this space with you. Thank you, Governor Moore, for standing up for Maryland's land, water, and people. As I said, good afternoon to all of you. Let me ask you this simple question. What kind of legacy do we want to leave behind? Will it be one that's defined by missed opportunities or by bold choices that leave a lasting impact? Today, with every bill that will be signed, we're choosing the latter. The Chesapeake Bay Legacy Act, as Governor Moore cited, aligns environmental conservation with economic development. And that balance starts with understanding just how vast and vital the Bay truly is. The Chesapeake Bay is the nation's largest estuary, stretching across 6 states and the District of Columbia, and home to more than 18 million people and over 3,600 species of plants and animals. So safeguarding a resource of this scale requires more than just respect for the past. It demands forward-looking solutions that are smart. Environmental responsibility isn't the only kind of accountability we're advancing today. We're also working to make government more accessible to the people it serves. From the public health abortion grant program that the governor spoke of, to expanding access for those navigating language or disability barriers. When I first came to this country, I didn't speak a word of English. I remember feeling so overwhelmed, sitting in classrooms where there were signs that I couldn't read, conversations that I couldn't understand. But I also remember my ESOL teachers who took the time to help me, who made sure I received the additional support I needed, and who made me feel like I belonged. The Equal Access to Public Service Act is about extending that same support to every Marylander so that no matter what language someone speaks or how they move through the world, they're seen, they're heard, and they are served. So I want to give a big shout out to the legislator who championed this, Gabe Acevedo. Thank you so much for your leadership. This same spirit of inclusion is at the heart of another important bill, Eric's ID law. It allows individuals with non-apparent disabilities, such as autism, to voluntarily display a butterfly symbol on their state-issued IDs. This thoughtful and compassionate initiative was inspired by Montgomery County's Eric Carpenter Grantham. A heartfelt shout out to Eric and Linda Carpenter Grantham, Chairman Smith and Delegate Wilkins for their advocacy in helping Maryland lead with empathy. Now, progress is rarely easy. It doesn't happen overnight, and it's never perfect, but it's always, always worth it, because the future we want won't come from us waiting. It comes from answering the needs of our land, water, and our people now. All of these bills signed today, great and small, are a testament to that. So to every legislator, advocate, staffer, community leader, and the members of the Moore-Miller administration, thank you. Your fingerprints are on Maryland's future, not someday, but today. Not for a moment, but for generations to come. And that's what legacy looks like. Thank you. Now it's my... Now it's my great pleasure to introduce the next speaker, Senate President Bill Ferguson.
Well, thank you, Madam Lieutenant Governor. I know it's going to be a good day because I am surrounded by mothers on either side today and speaking. And so a happy belated Mother's Day to the wonderful mother leaders that I have the opportunity to work with. And to all of those in the room. This was a special weekend that we're able to celebrate the superhero mothers that are out there that make this world turn. And so I just want to thank each and every one of them. It is the spirit of that work that makes Maryland such an incredible place. And another mother, our incredible majority leader in the Maryland Senate, Nancy King, who is the champion of the Kemp Act, who said from the very beginning of session, if there's one thing I have to get done, I have to get the Kemp Act done. And so I just want to thank her very much for her great, great work. This is our fourth year, or our fourth bill signing ceremony. So we've said a lot about each of the different bills, and we still continue to exist within the unbelievable uncertainty that is coming from the federal level. But these moments and these bill signings always give me the sense of confidence of what strong legislative and executive leadership can look like. When we come together as a bicameral chambers across agencies, across the branches of government, with bipartisan support, we are able to do some pretty remarkable things. And I just want to highlight, I know we have a busy day today, so I just want to highlight a couple of those. The Lieutenant Governor rightfully pointed out Eric's Law, which is Senate Bill 618, which Chairman Will Smith was a champion for several years. And just as a quick story for how this comes about and what great legislating can look like, as well, Chair of our Black Caucus, Janelle Wilkins, this was a bill that didn't happen overnight. And Senator Smith, several years ago, said, I really need you to meet with this family. You need to meet with my constituent, Eric. He's got this idea that's a little bit complicated of using a voluntary logo that is voluntarily added to an identification card so that in the case of a stop or an arrest or any type of interaction with any public official, that on someone's ID they could note in a private, personal way, that there may be an underlying thing that they aren't able to fully disclose out in public. It's something that's complicated because you can imagine all of the issues that arise. And so for several years, we tried to work through these different issues, and we had the disability community come to the table with a lot of concerns. And as we worked through the process year after year, we came forward with what now will be signed into law as Eric's ID law, which is this compassionate measure named, as we said, a Marylander whose experience, his own experience, is what led to this greater awareness of non-apparent disabilities. This is exactly what we most expect out of the General Assembly, is to find a problem, maybe we have an idea of how to fix it, and it takes a couple sessions to really work through all of the details to get to a place where we enact it in law and move our society forward. So I want to thank Chairman Smith for such incredible efforts on that front. Also, in the midst of very heavy things that we're dealing with, from the federal government to international wars, it is also important in the General Assembly session to highlight some of the important reflective things that come up and that each year help us remember what it means to be a Marylander. And so this year, with the help of a number of folks, but certainly our Democratic caucus chair, Craig Zucker, was the leader of SB 764, which started as just the state mineral. Anyone know? Chromite, there it is, of course. It wasn't quite loud enough, you know, but in all seriousness, a wonderful story that it's out there. But then eventually, with the help of, we had a number of conversations about moving forward, about how can we make this session and find some things that Marylanders can really be proud of and take back from Delaware what was rightfully ours from the beginning, which was adding in to find the state drink, which would be Maryland's Orange Crush. And so we will be signing that into law today as well. You have to find places to really engage. Another bill that we'll be signing is from Senator Katie Hester, who's been doing some just remarkable work around cybersecurity. This is Senate Bill 871, and it is focusing on our water and sewage systems and the threat that we have from cybersecurity. We know that there are international actors that are looking for vulnerabilities, and in our water, in our sewer systems, increasingly they are more computer-driven and complex. The work that Senator Hester has been doing nationally to bring best practices here will be a first-in-a-nation protection forum for how local jurisdictions can partner with the state to protect from international threats abroad to our cybersecurity systems. Last, and not, but certainly not least, is an issue that I just want to sort of set the context with very briefly. We know that there are a lot of big questions ahead for state finances, and one of the big drivers that we've talked a lot about is around Medicaid and the access to health care. And what we know is that we're at a crossroads. There are two different paths we can take. There is one path that we are seeing coming out of the congressional Republicans who put forward a plan for what to do with Medicaid. It is a slash and cut approach that is really designed to take health care away from individuals. Why? In order to balance the budget to pay for tax credits. Just this week, the plan that has been announced by congressional Republicans will cut, on average, from the bottom 20% of Americans, $1,125. $1,125 will be cut from the bottom line of the bottom 20%. What does that pay for? What are those cuts, taking that health care away, be it through work requirements for Medicaid or changing eligibility requirements? Well, what it does is it says that the top 20% of Americans will receive $6,330. So the bottom 20% will lose $1,125. The top 20% will gain $6,330 as people are moved off of Medicaid rolls to pay for tax cuts. That's one option. The other option is to look at other ways to bend the cost curve. And that's like what Chair Beidel did, Chair Pam Beidel, which was passed Senate Bill 372 with also Delegate Pena-Melnick, who's a wonderful chair, and they've worked together very closely on this, which is focusing on preserving telehealth, saying that instead of just looking about how to take health insurance away, how do we actually expand access and get people care to therefore lower the cost of care overall for all of us? That's the second choice, and that's the choice that Maryland will be making moving forward because of the leadership of the members of the General Assembly and the executive team that work with them. So I am so thrilled to be here today to celebrate this important moment for Maryland as we set and chart a path for the difference of what the future can look like. And I am so incredibly thrilled to thank and introduce my wonderful partner, Speaker Adrian Jones.
I'm the last. I'm the oldest. Good afternoon, everyone. I want to I want to start. Governor. I want to start by thanking Governor Moore and Senate President Ferguson for their partnership throughout the 2025 legislative session. I also want to thank all of you for staying focused during these challenging and unprecedented times. As we said many times throughout session, it is difficult to plan for the recent unprecedented federal actions. But for House Democrats, finding creative ways to protect our values is nothing new, regardless of who is in the White House. And today's legislation is proof of that. For the past 100 days, we've seen the Trump administration continue its reckless assault on environmental protections. They have proposed eliminating funding for bay restoration programs, rolled back water pollution regulations, terminated the Maryland Conservation Corps program, and just last week, they told federal agencies to stop evaluating the impact of climate change when developing new regulation. So today, I'm proud that we are signing bills to protect Maryland's environment and push back against climate denial. Bills like the Extended Producer Responsibility Program, which shows we are going to account for the economic and societal impacts of climate change when it comes to packaging waste and recycling system. House Bill 131, which updates the Chesapeake Bay Restoration Fund to keep it focused on improving water quality and meeting our bay restoration goals. And House Bill 277, our practical bill to reduce our reliance on single-use plastic water bottles. I want to thank Chair Mark Corman, Vice Chair Regina Boyce, and Speaker Pro Tem Dana Stein for leading these efforts. But it wasn't just environmental protections we had to put in place this session. From day one of the Trump administration, we knew that access to health care and reproductive services would be under attack. And on Sunday night, Republicans in Congress has unveiled their latest attempt to fund tax cuts for the rich. Billions of dollars of cuts to Medicaid. Using a similar language to what we heard on our House floor this year, they say these cuts will eliminate waste, fraud, and abuse, but they will really close hospitals, raise premiums for our most vulnerable communities, and increase uncompensated care. So under the leadership of Chair Jocelyn Pena-Melnick and Vice Chair Bonnie Collison, we fought back to provide a health care safety net for all Marylanders. We passed House Bill 1082 to protect nearly 200,000 Marylanders from losing their financial support for their health insurance should the Trump administration let it expire at the end of the year. As Republicans threaten to defend Planned Parenthood, we passed House Bill 1045 to update legislation from 2017 that made Maryland the first state in the nation to guarantee continued funding for family planning and women's health services. And we passed House Bill 930 to establish a public health abortion grant program ensuring equitable access to abortion care for our state. Because no matter how many times we affirm a woman's right to reproductive health care, there will be those who continue to undermine it. I also want to thank Delegate Leslie Lopez for her hard work on this innovative piece of legislation. As you can see, we did our best to put as many federal protections as possible in place this session. But moving forward, the work is going to get more difficult as our basic rights continue to be used as a bargaining chip for tax cuts for the ultra-wealthy. Today will bring a new challenge, but we are ready. I'm proud to have leaders like Chair Corman and Chair Pena-Melnick and our Joint Federal Action Oversight Committee with me. Their leadership has proven that they are ready to formulate appropriate responses to protect Marylanders for harmful actions taken by the federal government. Part of that work starts with implementing the policies before us today. So, as I always say at the end, let's get these bills signed.
All right, there you have it. Maryland Governor Wes Moore now signing some, count them, 170 bills into law, covering everything from abortion access, reckless driving, environmental responsibility, and including the Chesapeake Bay Water Quality Reproductive Health Care Funding Bill as well. That happening right now in Annapolis. On the bottom right-hand side of your screen, obviously, we are awaiting the House Democrats to speak on Trump's sweeping tariffs that they say happens to be chaotic and unlawful. When that happens, we'll take you there live on the Live Zone. We'll take a quick break and we'll be right back.
And also get a folks standing at the other end of the road. Move down this way, folks. Move down this way. All the way to Annapolis. 2 rows. Come on, 2 rows. Move down this way. Move down this way. How do you work down, folks? Second row. Move down this way, please. More space.
All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. Well, it is now day 2 in the high-profile sex trafficking case involving Sean P. Diddy Combs. Yesterday, we heard some explosive testimony from witnesses who attended some of Diddy's drug-fueled and sex-fueled so-called freak-offs. To give us her take on what we've heard thus far and how it may all play out, we now bring in none other than Virginia attorney Amanda Riemann on the Live Zone. It's good to see you, Amanda. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me. Good to be here.
So, Amanda, let's jump right into this. I got to tell you, for the last, let's say, 30 or 40 minutes, I have been covering President Trump, now covering Maryland Governor Wes Moore. I have been removed, if you will, with regard to what's currently happening within that courtroom. We know earlier today, Cassie, one of the star witnesses and Diddy's former ex-girlfriend, actually took the stand. I'm hoping you can, in essence, bring me up to speed with regard to what she had to say.
Absolutely. So right now we're dealing with a criminal trial. So the prosecution, they are the ones who bear the burden of proof. They are presenting their case first. Who is their strongest witness? It is Cassie Ventura. Cassie Ventura this morning has stated that she was scared of Diddy, that he would control her, he would call her incessantly, that she was under the influence of drugs at times, whether that's ecstasy or party pills. She also really stated that she couldn't say the word naive, more times than she could even think about, because that's how she would describe herself. She was easily influenced. She didn't know what she was getting herself into. And let's not forget that this star witness is pregnant. So she's 8 months pregnant. She's before the jury. Do we have some type of sympathy that's coming? That's something that the defense has brought up this morning as well.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I've said this time and time again, this is literally made for a movie. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this is the first time Cassie and Diddy have actually seen each other face to face in about 6.5 years. But wait, there's more, as they say. It's to my understanding that Cassie's now husband actually entered the courtroom as well, and the defense had a serious problem with this. Apparently, perhaps he too may be called as a witness. Is that what you're hearing?
Yeah, so the difference between now and what happened with Cassie when she filed her civil lawsuit was she went the civil route. She wasn't involving the prosecution and the Commonwealth or the state. And so what ended up happening was she settled within 24 hours. There was no court hearing. It was just an agreement was reached. There was likely non-disclosures in that agreement. What has happened now is she has to testify. She has been subpoenaed. She's been mandated to appear in this court. And so now that one of the reporters in the courtroom has said that this is a different side of Diddy that we're seeing today. Normally he's, throwing up hearts, he's smiling to people, and he's very somber today. Now, her husband, Cassie Ventura's husband, has been permitted to enter the courtroom. There had been some back and forth, should we allow him in the courtroom, because he sent some threatening text messages allegedly to Mr. Combs. There's also some back and forth about, hey, if we want to call him as a witness, we don't want him influenced by the testimony that he hears today.
I got to tell you, well, this is truly amazing. We also know that with regard to Cassie and the relationship she had with Diddy, yet again, they are arguing, they being the defense, that this has nothing to do with domestic abuse and or domestic violence, but in this case, consent. Can you talk about how one would go about to separate the two, if you will?
Absolutely. So the argument here that both sides have gotten to and they've agreed is we're not arguing that violence took place. We can see it plainly on the security footage that there was domestic violence. He's not being charged with domestic violence. However, he is being charged with racketeering. Racketeering is really kind of this broad term we use legally, and that's if you have some illegal activities and they're disguised as a legitimate business and it involves coordinated efforts by multiple people. Well, what are these coordinated efforts? Fraud, bribery, threats, violence. That is why these videos are being brought in, and it can perhaps persuade the jury, but it's going to be up to the prosecution's direct questioning, the defense attorney's cross-examination, and then ultimately closing arguments before the jury is instructed and deliberates on what the outcome for Mr. Combs will be.
Yet again, we are speaking with Amanda Riemann. She is an attorney and kind enough to join us right here on the Live Zone. We were told that when P. Diddy entered the courtroom yesterday, he was carrying a Bible. And not only that, but he was actually reading scripture aloud. What does that say to the jury? Is that a good thing that if you happen to be a defense attorney, would you instruct your client to do just that?
Well, you have to remember that there is a human element to this entire thing. And now the jury that's been selected is made up of men, is made up of women. It's not just one singular judge who's going to decide the outcome of this case. So they could be hoping, oh, well, if he's Christian, then maybe he wouldn't be capable of doing these things. It's also subconscious. So you might think, I'm not going to be influenced if I see someone carrying a Bible, but once you see it, it's still in your brain. That's the argument again with Cassie Ventura. The defense attorneys had asked, I think she needs to be seated when jurors come in. Well, she didn't stay seated. She walked in front of the jury to sit down before she was questioned this morning.
I got to tell you, truly riveting. We are following it step by step as it unfolds right before all of our eyes. Yet again, we have been speaking with Amanda Riemann, a Virginia attorney, kind enough to join us on the Live Zone. We'll have to have you back, Amanda. Truly enjoyed this.
Thank you.
All right, guys, if it's happening now and it's live, we're taking you there. In this case, House Democrats speaking on all things specifically surrounding sweeping tariffs. Let's go ahead and take a listen in to Mr. Jeffries.
To lower the cost of housing in the United States of America? No. Is it legislation that actually enhances the ability for everyday Americans to provide child care or afford groceries in this country? No. House Republicans are trying to jam another GOP tax scam down the throats of the American people, where the overwhelming majority of the benefits will go to the wealthiest 1% in the United States of America, and they want to pay for it by sticking us with additional debt, trillions of dollars of additional debt, and by enacting the largest health care cut in American history, along with the largest cut to food assistance in American history, literally taking food out of the mouths of children, veterans, and seniors in this country. It's shameful. The American people do not support this extreme and toxic bill, and we're going to hold every single House Republican who votes for it accountable. Questions?
Mr. Leader, good afternoon. What would you, your statement the other day after there was this incident in Newark, you said they better not touch our members.
Correct.
What happens if they were to go and arrest these members, or if they would try to sanction them here in the House of Representatives?
They'll find out.
What would you do, though? I mean,
They'll find
what
out.
recourse? I mean, but doesn't that broach a?
They'll find out.
Doesn't that go across?
That's a red line.
What's the red line, though? I mean, I know we have the speech.
It's a red line. It's very clear. First of all, I think that the so-called Homeland Security spokesperson is a joke. It's a joke. They know better than to go down that road, and it's been made loudly and abundantly clear to the Trump administration. We're not going to be intimidated by their tactics to try to force principled opposition from not standing up to their extremism. It hasn't happened during the entirety of this failed term. It didn't happen when Donald Trump temporarily was sitting high in the immediate aftermath of the election. Do you think it's going to happen now, when he's the most unpopular president in American history after his first 100 days? Give me a break. No one's intimidated by this dude. No one. And so there are clear lines that they just dare not cross.
Speaking of red lines, Mr. Leader, were you informed that the White House intended to fire Dr. Hayden,
No.
head of the Library of Congress?
No.
Is there anything you can do to reverse it, to discuss it?
We're looking into it, but of course, the problem that we confront right now in this Congress is that House Republicans and Senate Republicans are nothing more than a compliant rubber stamp for Donald Trump's extreme agenda. They're not a check and balance. They're not working for the American people. They're actually working for an out-of-control executive branch. Now, it's the Library of Congress, not the Library of the executive branch. So clearly, there's going to have to be some reforms at this particular point in time, moving forward. The president probably violated the law. What cause did he have to fire Dr. Hayden? There's no cause. It's all made-up foolishness. And so we're certainly going to look into that. And litigation will be evaluated strongly. But moving forward, I think what's clear is that perhaps the executive branch should be removed from the process. Once a Librarian of Congress has been designated, if you're going to have an out-of-control executive who's going to abuse the authority that he, in this instance, has been given by the United States Congress.
Thank you.
The vice chair of the DNC, David Hogg, he said today, quote, "Too many leaders in the Democratic Party are asleep at the wheel." You're obviously a leader in the Democratic Party.
Did he mention me by name?
He did not, but you are a leader.
Okay.
Are Democrats asleep at the wheel? Does he have a point, and should he stay in his role?
I think I've been very clear about my perspective on David Hogg, and I'm going to defend every single member of the United States House of Representatives in the Democratic caucus.
Mr. Leader, on the
On a similar vein of standing up for Congress's authority, what are you trying to do, if anything, about the Qatari plane? And what steps are you taking to assert Congress's authority over this? And when it comes to the Library of Congress,
Well,
what can you
Congressman
do?
Jamie Raskin has been very clear on this issue as it relates to the Constitution. A $400 million flying palace is an unconstitutional gift to this president or any president if it is not explicitly approved by the United States House of Representatives and the United States Senate. That's what the Constitution explicitly makes clear. There's no way around it as far as we're concerned. And so the president presumably is going to take that next step and seek congressional authority, which I believe we will clearly and decisively reject. It's an embarrassment. Literally, millions of people in this country are struggling to live paycheck to paycheck. Can't afford housing, can't afford groceries, can't afford to pay their utility bills, can't afford child care, can't afford insurance. And Donald Trump is publicly defending, accepting a $400 million flying palace from a close ally of Iran and Hamas? I mean, you can't make this stuff up, which is why even some of his closest MAGA sycophants have made clear this is a plane too far for them. Too far for them.
Thank you, Mr. Leader. Speaking of planes, did you fly out of Newark this week? And I wanted to see if you support Secretary Duffy's proposed fixes to the air traffic control system.
I flew out of LaGuardia this week. I look forward to having a conversation with Rick Larson, the top Democrat on the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee. I have great confidence in him and his leadership to get his assessment on Secretary Duffy's recommendation.
Are you open to a major overhaul of air traffic control technology?
I think we need to make sure that our air traffic control system and technology is top-notch and first-rate. And to the extent that there are aging parts of the system, it definitively needs to be corrected. We also need an administration that should stop trying to undermine aviation safety in the United States of America, which is what they've been doing, perhaps at the behest of one of their lackeys, Elon Musk, from the very beginning of this administration. Thanks.
On Library of Congress, there's this dispute where Trump has appointed A.G. Blanche. Library of Congress staff turned away those DOJ appointees yesterday, and Robert Newland is still addressing himself as the acting director. Who in this moment is leading the Library of Congress? As far as you're concerned, and will congressional Democrats be offering guidance or weighing in?
As far as I'm concerned, it's not this Robert Newland character or whatever his name is. I've never heard of him. And listen, at the end of the day, it's the Library of Congress. And so this is another example of executive overreach. And it'll be challenged in court in all likelihood. And hopefully some of my Republican colleagues will actually stand up, show a backbone as it relates to their own authority. Stop being punked by Donald Trump. I don't understand it. Congress is a separate and co-equal branch of government. They already are doing great damage to themselves by trying to jam this extreme GOP tax scam down the throats of the American people. That's not enough for them in terms of their sycophantic behavior. They literally are signing their own political death warrants in terms of the 2026 election. They should be doing what's in the best interest of the American people, not trying to visit upon everyday Americans the largest cut to health care in American history, devastating cuts to Medicaid, and at the same time undermining the Affordable Care Act. Y'all didn't learn your lesson? How'd that work out for you in 2017 and 2018?
There's a number of different revelations coming out about President Joe Biden's decline with recent books. Is it helpful for your caucus for these to come out now? And would you want Biden to campaign for House Democrats?
We're not looking backward, we're looking forward at this particular moment in time.
Thank you, Mr. Leader. Richie Neal, Frank Pallone, and Andrew Craig may not be the most visible members of the caucus, but today they're going to be center stage as Republicans mark up the bill to, as you say, give tax breaks to the wealthy, take people off their health care, and take SNAP benefits away from Americans. What should Americans know about these three members and why they should trust their leadership the way that you and many of the members of your caucus do?
I have great confidence in Richie Neal, great confidence in Frank Pallone, and great confidence in Angie Craig. They have been leading the charge along with all of the distinguished members of those three committees, which really do represent and capture the gorgeous mosaic of the caucus and the gorgeous mosaic of the American people in every possible way in terms of diversity. That includes ideological, racial diversity, gender diversity, age diversity, and life experience diversity. All three of these committees ably and incredibly led by Richie Neal, Frank Pallone, and Angie Craig. I think the American people will be impressed by what they see. We all are unified in trying to stop these extreme MAGA Republicans from jamming another GOP tax scam that benefits the wealthy, the well-off, and the well-connected, and takes health care away from the American people down our throats. It is an egregious and outrageous bill, and it runs directly contrary to the central Republican promise that was made in 2024, which is that they were going to fix the economy and lower the high cost of living. They've done neither. They are blowing up the economy in real time and raising costs. And they're going to be held accountable for the mess that they are creating.
Thank you, Leader. House Republicans have justified some of their spending cuts in the name of aiming to try and put the nation in better fiscal footing. Do you believe that we have a spending problem, and how would House Democrats go about this differently to address that?
That will be explained throughout the various committee hearings that are going to take place throughout today, tonight, and into tomorrow. But the notion that Republicans are fiscally responsible is laughable. They have repeatedly inherited an improved fiscal situation, or in some cases, a budget surplus, as occurred during Bill Clinton's presidency, and an improved fiscal situation relative to a reduction of the deficit, $1 trillion reduction that Donald Trump inherited from Barack Obama, and then proceeded to blow up the debt and the deficit, just like George W. Bush did, just like Reagan did, and now Republicans are doing it again. We are not going to be lectured about fiscal responsibility by a bunch of people who have repeatedly spent the taxpayer dollars like drunken sailors in order to give their billionaire MAGA donors like Elon Musk, in this particular instance, a tax cut. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, there we have it. Minority Leader, Speaker of the House, HAKEEM Jeffries, speaking on a number of things. In essence, not too happy with regard to Trump's $4.9 trillion tax plan as it targets Medicaid. The House Minority Speaker stating that no one is intimidated by the president. We'll take a quick break, and we'll be right back. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone on a feel-good Tuesday. And, well, when it comes to all things, I don't know if I should say that, what I was about to say. So in that case, let me just bring in my guy, Mr. Vernon Miles with FFX now joining us right here on the Live Zone. Vernon, I know we were trying to get to you yesterday and were unable to do so, so glad we were able to get you back on today. Good to see you, sir.
Good to see you. That's how you know there's going to be breaking news, is when I'm on. We gotta turn away to something else. So.
We love having you on. So let's jump into one of the stories that you all actually published today, and it surrounds pay raises, staffing reduced at Fairfax County Public Schools as, well, guess what? As they scramble to balance the budget. Do tell, sir.
Yeah, this has been a big fight in Fairfax County Public Schools recently. The school board recently approved a budget cooperation thing with the local teachers there, making an agreement to raise pay by, I believe, 7%. And then afterwards, the county board, the Board of Supervisors, said, you didn't really have the authority to do that. We cannot pay for that. So the school board was left scrambling, working with teachers, trying to find a compromise. They were able to fund a budget increase for the teachers there, but it did come at the cost of some positions, as well as other things like social studies materials are being pushed back a few years, stuff like that. So it does come at a cost.
Yeah, I would assume that this happens on a year-by-year basis. And do we know if that's the case? Was this an issue last year with regard to trying to balance this budget?
Yeah, this kind of budget negotiation for schools is always an issue. This year was a little different because of collective bargaining. I think this year in particular was one of those where teachers felt a little bit betrayed by some of the Board of Supervisors. They thought this was going to be a year of a big, major budgetary increase, and then they had some whiplash when the Board of Supervisors said, no, we didn't agree to that, just the school board agreed to that. So that was a big fight, but so far it does seem like the teachers will get some of the pay raise that they hoped for.
Yeah, and it's well-deserved, I would add. Nothing better than a teacher helping our future, if you will, and that being our children.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to Fairfax City celebrating Small Business Month.
Love to see this. This is, Fairfax City has been doing a whole month-long thing of celebrating some of the local small businesses there. I thought it was really cool looking through this list because there's a lot of businesses that have been replaced by stuff like online shopping. But the things here are ones where, you can't get that online. This is things like a Romp and Roll, which is, local business that does things like gymnastics for kids, or Smiley Skin Beauty was one of those that does waxing services. Obviously, can't get that one on Amazon.
Yeah.
So it's cool to see these local businesses, surviving and prevailing and finding new ways to adapt.
All of this will culminate in a retail fair. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. They've got the retail fair on May 31st. It'll be in the Old Town Square, so it should be a beautiful day.
All right, high five yet again going out to Fairfax County, celebrating all things with regard to Small Business Month. We'll wrap it up with the local credit union offering, well, let's say the nation's top certificate rates. This really caught my attention, Vernon.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because it was one of those where this is a new credit union that is, they've opened a new location in McLean. One of the things I've talked to local businesses around there, and I think some people get some pushback when you see new credit unions and new banks opening in spaces, but I've talked to businesses around the area that say, look, these aren't necessarily for the average person walking around in McLean, but it's very helpful for local businesses to have a bank or to have a credit union that we can go in the door and talk to somebody.
Yeah, one of the things I love about what you all do is you not only provide us with information, but you educate us as well. I have never been a part of a credit union, and as a result of reading this story, you know what? I said that's going to make me think twice, so I may very well do just that. Vernon Miles joining us yet again, FFX Now, right here on the Live Zone. Always good to see you, sir. Thanks so much for being a good sport.
Thank you.
You got it. All right, guys, we'll take a quick break and we'll be right back. is it, a wet one.
Yeah,
Tucker
it is.
Barnes joining us for all things weather.
Hello!
How are you, sir?
The weather today is having the equivalent of a DIDDY day, a freak. Can I say that? No?
That's the funniest thing I've heard in quite some time.
All right. The weather's going off today. Thank you for laughing.
Yeah, I need a break there. Let's take full screen. That was funny.
Yeah, we'll go into it. Periods of rain, yeah, it is potentially going to be an afternoon filled with, in some cases, some flooding rain. So we're watching it carefully here in the Weather Center, and I'll start with this guy. Rain, I know, a lot of people don't love rain, but we need rain around here. It's good for our agricultural interests, good for our trees, good for everything, good for our lawns and everything. So this is one of those soaking rains that really puts a dent into some big-time deficits we've had as far as water over the past year or so. Raining at this hour, 68 degrees. You're looking at a cool afternoon, a humid afternoon, and a rainy afternoon. Those are pretty much going to be your daytime high temperatures. So I don't think we'll do a lot better than the upper 60s this afternoon. And the rain will continue to come down. Been a rainy morning. Rain got going 3, 4 o'clock across the area. And look at that rain just streaming in from the south. It continues out there. There's a flood watch I'll show you for parts of the area, and a flood warning now for parts of Prince William County and Fairfax County until 3 o'clock this afternoon. And we've already, in many cases, seen about 3/4 of an inch of rain.
Wow.
And if we double that number, even triple that number, in some cases we'll have 2 or 3 inches of rain by late tonight. So with all that rain coming down in a short period of time, creeks and some ponding on roadways, that kind of thing would be a concern later today. If you're tuning in and you're going to be hitting the roads later this afternoon, keep raining right through picking up kids from school, getting home from work, that kind of thing. So just make sure you're prepared for it. Unlike me, you change your windshield wiper blades once in a while. Man, mine just smears things. It's like, come on.
Yeah.
Really, I got to go deal with this. Okay, the big picture. Want to impress your friends. All that rain you see down across the Carolinas and then out to sea, it streams all the way down into the Gulf.
Oh, wow.
I mean, all the way down into the Caribbean here. So it is just a plume of moisture getting pushed up and funneled up into the mid-Atlantic. And as I mentioned, this is kind of one of those drought-busting rains where we're going to have, in some cases, close to 3 inches of rain by this time tomorrow. It should all wrap up later tonight, but there is a flood watch, and that little area in green is that flood warning I mentioned, in effect through tomorrow morning. And the rain should mostly start to taper off 9, 10 o'clock tonight. Tomorrow will feature a day of mixed clouds and sunshine with a very humid atmosphere with all this water not going anywhere. We'll have a couple of thunderstorms around tomorrow afternoon, but it won't be as wet as today. So it'll be a chance to dry out. Thursday and Friday, scattered late day thunderstorms. In fact, Saturday too. But notice the warmer temperatures for the end of the week. Kind of summery.
Well, but as you put it, we definitely need all the rain.
We do.
So, all right, good stuff.
Okay. Have a great day.
Thank you, Tucker Barnes, with all things weather right here on the Live Zone. Hey guys, if you haven't already done so yet, download the Fox Local app. It's the way you can get your weather on the go. All right, guys, we'll take a quick break. On the flip side of that break, more riveting testimony surrounding the Sean P. Diddy Combs sex trial. National trial attorney Madeline Somerville joins us next, right here on the Live Zone. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone, we are continuing to follow one of the top stories in America right now. That's surrounding Sean P. Diddy Combs. Today is day 2 in the high-profile sex trafficking case. And we know earlier today, well, one of the star witnesses, none other than Diddy's ex-girlfriend Cassie, took to the stand. Joining us now to discuss this and so much more is Madeline Somerville, national trial attorney and body language expert, back here on the Live Zone. Madeline, it's always good to see you. Welcome back to the show.
Good to see you too. Thank you so much for having me back, Guy.
All right, so we got a lot to cover here. I want to read some of my notes here, and this is with regard to what took place in the courtroom earlier today when Cassie actually took to the stand. We were told that you could hear a pin drop within that courtroom as she made her way to the stand. She didn't call Sean P. Diddy Combs Diddy or P. Diddy. She called him Sean. And she said that she was a people pleaser. She also stated that she didn't know what no would turn into with regard to perhaps some of the abuse that she would face as a result of saying just that. I'm curious, what you have heard thus far, anything make you do a double take?
Well, I think there's a lot to this trial that can be confusing, but let me try to break it down a little bit because I think I can make a little bit more sense of this. So you mentioned how she refers to him. That is always something that's planned, right? Because in the complaint and in the documents that are filed, you've got him referred to in a certain way, but you want to either humanize or dehumanize him for the jury. So referring to him in a certain way matters, right? Then additionally, you mentioned that she walked into the courtroom and you could hear a pin drop. I know that there was some discussion prior to her coming in about whether she should be seated when the jurors walk in, or whether she should, because she's visibly very pregnant, or whether she should walk in because they didn't want the jurors to be even more aware of her pregnancy at the moment, because that might lead them to sway one way or the other. So I think right now everyone's being so delicate about each little thing so that the jurors will focus on the facts and not on anything that might sway them emotionally.
It has been riveting testimony, if you will. She stated that they would have arguments, and during the arguments, he would turn violent. She said, quote, he would smash me, kick me, I would have knots on my forehead. She also said that Diddy introduced her to freak-offs, and what surprised me is she stated that he controlled her every move throughout the day, including what she would wear. What does that say to a jury, and how do you think a jury would respond to that testimony?
Yeah, I think that's the exact right question. And some lawyers believe, and I do too, that cases are won in jury selection because it is going to matter how each individual juror feels about domestic violence. Because on the surface, everyone can say, of course, it's a horrible thing. But there are some people who are more acquainted with it than others, who are very understanding about people in those situations, that understand that those people feel stuck and they feel like they can't leave. And there are others that have less experience with domestic violence that really struggle to understand, well, why would she still be there? Is she still a good person? She's engaging in these kinds of things. And those answers seem like they're obvious to you and me right now, but people come in with their own prejudices and biases. And so it's going to depend on what each individual juror's life experiences are and what they believe prior to walking in. So hopefully the attorneys did a good job in picking people who would be able to not allow those previous experiences, because those are going to be with you no matter what, to sway them at this moment.
Madeline, we know when it comes to the whole battle rap thing, if you will, one of the key things that a rapper will do is, let's say, talk about himself or herself prior to the actual rap goes on. That way you can't make fun of me. I already said I have big ears. You can't say anything about it. In this case, we know that the defense immediately said, hey, we know that there happens to be a domestic violence issue. That's not what's at issue here. It's all about consent. Is that correct?
That's exactly right. And I think that the defense did an excellent job by calling attention to the weakest part of their case first, right? It's exactly like you said, I'm taking care of it because I'm the one that's bringing it up. And actually, jurors end up being very good at parsing out, okay, what are the elements that the prosecution needs to prove, and did they prove them, versus do I like this person or not, right? Do I believe this person is different than do I like this person, right? Does this person have credibility? And I believe a story is a separate element. But here, when they're saying you might not like what you see here, and that might cause you to judge him in a certain way. But your job is to match up the facts of the case with the elements that need to be proven in order to convict him. And jurors are actually really good at that.
We also know that you are a body language expert and one that does so well at just that. I have not been made privy to some of the pictures that have been taken within the courtroom, and it's my understanding, I might be incorrect about that, I don't think we have any pictures. All we have happens to be sketches. And so with that being said, and yet again, this is an artist's depiction of what he or she is seeing. Anything strike you from a body language standpoint to say, hey, you know what, perhaps he's, as you stated before on this show, leaning over a little bit. Perhaps he's mimicking something. Perhaps you see tears coming down his face. I'm not saying that's what's happened, but anything that has struck you that made you think twice as to what's going on?
Definitely. There were a few things that struck me. So I did hear about him blowing kisses to his kids and his family when they came in. Now, a lot of times the judge will limit what the defendant is allowed to do in terms of interaction with people in the courtroom once the jurors come in. So it's important to distinguish whether or not Diddy is doing this in front of the jury or not, right? Because when they bring him in first and then they bring the jurors in, right? So that might be influential, it might not. But I do know that he's been wearing these crew neck sweaters. I know that he's been reading a Bible at different times. And like, for example, the conversation that he had with the Fox 5 reporter the other day about her being pregnant. I think he's trying to endear himself to people in the courtroom and kind of create an energy of sympathy for him. And trying to, he's an entertainer. He works the room. And so he's creating an image and adding props and costumes and everything that he can to try to control the energy in the courtroom as much as possible.
Yeah, but then you have the whole he said, she said scenario. And in this case, we now know that Cassie has testified that he promised her she would have a 10-album deal, meaning 10 albums in all. Madeline, I can tell you, only one album happened to be released during their time together.
I think it's hard because I know that she was only 19 when she came in to this relationship. And I think as somebody who has been a 19-year-old girl, and somebody who actually, I was a singer too. I think when you get promised something by somebody who's so high up in the industry, you tend to offer trust where maybe you shouldn't. And actually trust is a primary element of this case, right? Because what you're ultimately proving, what it's all coming down to, is consent. And so you have to figure out, who do I trust here? Because if one person says one thing, he said, she said, whose side do I choose?
Yeah. All right. Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's to my understanding the court had a recess. They have now resumed, and Cassie is back on the stand at this very moment. Is that the case?
That's quite likely. They probably broke for lunch, and Cassie would be back on. My understanding is that she's supposed to be there for testifying for a couple of days, which wouldn't totally surprise me. I think that once the direct examination occurs, then the defense gets to come up and sort of undo any points that were scored by the prosecution. So we'll see how long it lasts, but you obviously don't want to overstay your welcome and push the jurors too far.
Wow, I got to tell you, yet again, this is just truly riveting. And great job, Madeline Somerville, national trial attorney and body language expert, joining us right here on the Live Zone with all things Diddy. All right, we'll take a quick break. Hey, on the flip side of that break, we'll be joined by Maryland State Senator Arthur Ellis. Did you hear? A brand new Boys and Girls Club. Well, they have their grand opening today, and he is so excited to tell you all about it. That's coming up next, right here on the Live Zone. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. It is now 1 minute past the bottom of the hour, and it is a celebration. What am I making reference to? Later today, the grand opening of the Boys and Girls Club on 1 North Prospect Avenue in Indian Head, Maryland, will take place. How cool is that? Joining us to celebrate with us is none other than Maryland State Senator Arthur Ellis, joining us right here on the Live Zone. Mr. Ellis, good to see you, sir, and thank you so much for coming on the show.
Good to see you also. Thank you for having us.
I got to tell you, this is a monumental day. I am all things pro Boys and Girls Club. I actually, I grew up in one as a kid, and so when I saw this, and I know your involvement with this as well, I figured why not highlight this unlike any other. Yet again, it takes place today beginning at 4 o'clock. Do tell, sir, why are you so excited?
Well, this is part of my promise to the youth of Charles County, to bring amenities to them. And the number one amenity on my list was the Boys and Girls Club. It took us 7 years. I've been in office for 7 years. I've been putting money aside through my senatorial account to build this club. And today is the day, the grand opening of the first brick and mortar Boys and Girls Club in Charles County.
Wow, I did not know that. That's hard to believe. It's 2025, and this happens to be the first one. I guess I could say it's a glass half empty, but in this case, we'll look at it as a glass half full. We're celebrating that in a major way. What will this mean for the community, Senator?
Well, it's a tremendous asset. Our young people spend probably a quarter of their lives before 18 in school. 75% of their time at home in the community. We need extracurricular activities for our youth, for them to really shine, for them to do all the beautiful things that the Boys and Girls Club will allow. In Charles County, we have a lot of our working parents work in the DC area, and they suffer from the worst commute. They're away from home so much longer than so many other people. And so this Boys and Girls Club will offer before and after care, and of course, activities after school and the summer activities to really fill that gap for parents. It's a tremendous asset for our residents in Charles County.
When I think of the Boys and Girls Club, the first thing that comes to mind for me happens to be the summer camp. Oh gosh, I miss those days. And with that, I'm thinking of all the science and technology activities and enriching activities that happen day in and day out there. The mathematics nowadays, we're talking about the STEM programs that we get a chance to see. At the outdoor games, that's what it was for me. It was the challenge of, hanging out with my buddy and trying to beat him in whatever race. Anything in particular for you, sir, that really stands out or you remember taking part in with regard to the Boys and Girls Club?
I remember absolutely nothing about the Boys and Girls Club because I was never a member like you are. But I read about the tremendous, I visited clubs over the years, and I remember the notable alumni from these clubs, including Denzel Washington, Kerry Washington, Jennifer Lopez, Hulk Hogan.
Wow.
I mean, from a broad range of individuals. There are millions of alumni, Boys and Girls Club, and thousands of notable alumni, not just in movies and television, but in arts and other music and sports and medicine. It's just a tremendous asset, helping children with homework, helping them fill that time with fun activities. And the biggest thing is connecting them with wonderful mentors.
Yeah, well, obviously this is a team effort, and that's one of the things that we want to teach our kids. It's all about team, never me, me, me. In that case, sir, anyone in particular you would like to thank for bringing this to fruition?
Well, you mentioned team effort, and it took a team effort to build this facility. Working closely with the mayor of Indian Head, Brandon Paulin, who believe in this project, provide a lot of resources and sign off on the permits to get this building open in a timely manner. Then working along with my colleague in the Senate, Senator Michael Jackson, and he introduced me to the Boys and Girls Club leaders in Maryland, and Mark Piccarelli, who's the president of the Boys and Girls Club of Maryland. Just a tremendous Commissioner Thomasina Coates here in Charles County. This is her district. And we worked together as a team and with my colleagues in Annapolis to get the money in the account to get the building done. this building, this facility is 90% through my senatorial grant funds. And so just a tremendous teamwork to really get this done. And we'll continue to work with the community to really build. I have a second Girls and Girls Club plan in Waldorf. I already have several $1 million in that fund to build a Boys and Girls Club in Waldorf. So working with our partners, tremendous. I hope to continue to do that, to not just have the only Boys and Girls Club in Charleston, Indian Head, but one of several others.
Senator Ellis, there's one person you forgot to thank, and I guess you can't do it, so I will, and that happens to be you. Thank you so much for what you've done for the county as well.
You're very kind.
Yet again,
Very
we've been
kind.
speaking with Maryland State Senator Arthur Ellis as we celebrate all things Boys and Girls Club. The first one opening in Charles County happens today, the grand opening. You see it right there on your screen, beginning at 4 o'clock. And of course, he joined us right here on the LZ. Good to see you, sir. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for the time. I appreciate it.
You
All the
got
best to you.
All right, guys, we'll take a quick break. We'll be right back. That's called live TV, guys.
I didn't even know we were going. Look.
Well, no, that's the trumpets announcing that Brittany Alexandra.
Yes, you know
has
what? I
arrived.
like that. That's a great call. That's a great call, me and
Good to see
you.
you.
Good to see you guys.
Welcome to the LZ,
Thank
live
you.
in person.
Literally, I love it. I love it. And that was quite an intro just now.
Oh, but it happens. The good thing is it didn't happen throughout the entire show. One time my mic didn't work. That was
I
a
need
bad
that
thing.
blooper though. I'm sure my face just now was hilarious.
All right, this is what we call our Tuesday Talkers. Some of the stories
Yes.
that you and I and you happen to be talking about, which I actually think is really pretty cool. We're going to kick it off with the top baby names of 2024.
Okay.
I'm trying to figure that out, isn't it?
Wait,
2025?
it's 2025? What
What's it
okay,
say,
so these are the
2024?
baby names from last year, I guess.
I guess
okay.
that are just,
Got
yeah.
it.
All right, so with the guys, we'll do Liam.
Liam's
Number one,
cute.
Noah and Oliver.
Okay.
All right. With regard to the young ladies and or the gals, it's Olivia, Emma, and Amelia.
Okay, I've heard some Noahs. Trey Songz's son's name is Noah.
Oh,
so I
really?
guess they got that one, yes.
Okay.
Amelia, I've heard as well. I like this list. It's not too bad. Not a lot of gender-neutral names on here, though, and I thought that was a thing right now. So, which one's your favorite?
Well, Guy.
Brittany. Not a lot of
There you
Britneys
go.
nowadays, but I'm not mad at that. There's
Right.
so many Britneys in the world. We can take a little break for a little bit.
It's funny, we talked about this on the radio earlier today, and they said, or some of my colleagues made mention of, this was, you wouldn't necessarily find these names in, let's say, the southeast portion of Washington, D.C.
Yes, that sounds about right. This is definitely very much giving where I'm from in McLean. It's definitely giving McLean names.
And that's cool. That's
You
what it's
know?
all about. My name is somewhat unique, but I never felt.
Your name is unique.
Yeah, but I never felt different about it. I mean, for me, it's always just been the norm. It's interesting when people react to my name.
Yeah.
But I would say.
They're like, hey, Guy?
Yeah. Well, you know what I would say if you said it? I would say, hey, girl.
That's a good one. Okay, so you've learned your comebacks
it's
from
really
over the
easy.
years,
But
yes.
what about your name? Or do you like your name?
I mean, I do like my name. Thank you, Mom, for naming me Brittany. I like how it's spelled in specific.
Yeah.
You know, I love Britney Spears, and I used to love that my name was hers growing up. Brittany, ladies, is the right way to spell it. So I appreciate moms for that.
Yeah.
Brittany Alexandra just rolls off the tongue.
I got to tell you, it made it more difficult for me because when I would type in your
Yeah.
name, I did it the wrong way at first.
Sounds about right.
But it taught me something. It's like, oh, wow, I didn't realize it could be spelled this way as well.
Right,
So.
exactly. And all my siblings' names are B's, so, you know, I appreciate that as well with just how she named us. So I don't know. We need to do that study. Like, are people naming their kids with the same first letter for all the kids?
Yeah.
I'm here for it.
All right.
Yeah.
You can kick it off.
I like these names, though. Also on the list, Mateo. We talked about
Really?
this behind the scenes, but I like that name, Mateo.
That's a little different.
That's cute.
Is that a Disney character or something like that from a movie?
No.
Okay. I don't know.
No, you're right. We'll have to do some research on that one.
All right. Well, if you
Not
happen
Moana, though. Moana didn't make that list.
if you happen to be named Mateo or whatever you just said, tweet us, post us, exit, whatever you call it nowadays, and let us know. Let's move on to this. I thought this was really interesting, and that is Family Dollar, soon to be available, drum roll please, on Uber Eats, Brittany.
I think this is clutch. I mean, thank you, Uber Eats.
Are you
steals,
serious?
The deals and the steals. Come
Wow,
on. I'll
okay.
pay the delivery fee for something that's only, under $5.
Yeah.
Versus Target, right?
Okay.
I'm just saying.
All right, well, I know I just kind of shamed
Now, where
them.
is a Family Dollar near us?
I
though?
can tell you.
That's the question.
Because I shop there all the time.
Okay. Look, around the way, on the south side.
They have the best candles.
Okay, yes, they do.
I think it's like $6. I get buy
Sounds
some
about
candles,
right.
and they have the best sparkling apple juice. I'm a big apple juice
Random.
fan.
Oh my God, I do not like apple
Really?
juice. Oh, wow. We're going to have a conversation about juices one day, clearly. OJ all day, okay?
But for them to be on Uber Eats, what does that mean to you?
It just means that everything in this world is just continuing to become more and more convenient, right? Like, convenience is key. It means that stores like Family Dollar are catching up to the times, finally. I mean, 7-Eleven's been on there for how long? I'm just saying.
That's true.
And yeah, I don't know. It's a way for these stores to find new business, right? I mean, isn't like Family Dollar and the dollar store, all that kind of not doing well financially? So maybe this is an opportunity for them to, spread their wings a little bit and allow a new customer base to come in.
I'm looking here. I'm not necessarily sure if it's just the food, and if that's the case, and I was taking a dig at them earlier.
Family Dollar food.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to point out because a lot of it happens to be processed, and we know that's not healthy.
Not healthy at all.
It's in
Whole foods, literally.
Yeah, stressed neighborhoods, and so you want to think twice before actually ordering food from there. But the Tabasco sauce, I get that. I can go down my whole list. The soap, it's great. It's cheaper.
I was about to say. I mean, can I get goggles off of there for it's about to be the summer? Like, can I order those things?
I don't know. That's a good question.
We're gonna have to see. We're gonna have to do a test. We're gonna Uber Eats Family Dollar to here very soon and see what we can get.
All right, perhaps we'll do a commercial for them.
Right?
Just cut the check.
Might as well, literally.
Hey, we'll end
how
with
much
this.
publicity we're getting them.
Do you have a pet? Do you own a pet?
I do.
Really?
Buttercup. We love Butter. She's so cute. She's 10 years
or a
old.
cat?
A dog, Cocker
Really?
Spaniel. Beautiful, cute dog. Yes.
Oh, wow.
Love her. Very bougie. We call her Bougie Butter.
Oh gosh.
Yes.
I wonder why.
I mean, she's doesn't fall far too from the tree. I'm just saying.
That's a good thing.
My grandma always says that. She's just like y'all.
Well, according
a dog
to a newly released study, 56% of pet owners would cut their life short in order to extend their pet's life. You would do that?
Yeah, I mean, look, let's be real, no. But I mean, if I could, I would. I love Butter. I mean, she's 10 years old. I was just talking to my mom about this the other day, and I'm like, I just want Butter to live for 10 more years, please. I have a friend whose dog actually lived to 17.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
That
so,
is,
I mean,
I don't know. Buttercup deserves more life,
Yeah.
right? They don't get that much time like we do.
I think it's different. As a kid, we had, dear God, every pet under the tree. I mean, maybe 4 or 5 dogs,
Oh,
cats.
wow.
I don't own any
So
now.
you had a zoo at the house.
Yeah, for the most
This
part.
makes sense why you don't have it anymore, because you went through all of that.
Hermit crab, snakes. Yeah, we had all of that stuff.
Porcupines?
Seriously, no,
wow.
not a porcupine. But
a rabbit?
We did have a rabbit at one point.
I
Yeah.
like
I'm
that.
serious.
I like
have
that.
We had a whole farm thing, if you will. But
That's so cute.
now I don't own a pet, and so I don't think I would do something like that. But I guess they become like a part of the family,
Okay,
right?
let's be real. Like, if I'm 90, I'll shave a little time off. I mean, not right now. Not in my 30s when I'm in the hot girl summer era. No. Sorry, but I'm going to have to sacrifice that one right there. But I'm just saying, it would be great if I could, do something to make her live a little bit longer, right? So, but she's thriving. She's doing well.
Okay.
And she's still eating all them blueberries I spilled on the floor this morning, so.
She should.
Think she's doing just fine.
Next time you stop by, bring a picture.
Yes,
I think the audience
will.
would like to see her as
Oh my
well.
God, yes. I would love to do that for sure.
Right. In about 13 minutes, you're coming up on the
Yes.
take. Guess who else is joining her? I just saw him in the green room. Tony P. How
I
cool is
love
that?
Tony P in DC, literally. Yes, I'm so excited. It's always a good time when we're together and we link up. So,
All right. Can you
talking
give
about
us-
his bachelor stories back there backstage, it never
that what he's
ends. When
doing?
you're single in the DMV, stories for days, man. No,
I
good
can
to
say
see
this.
him.
The one thing about Tony P is he is truly genuine, just
He
like
really
how he is on
He
TV.
is so
the same
sweet.
as you.
Very down to earth, wishing him the best, looking to do new endeavors in his career. So we were kind of talking about that as well backstage. So I'm excited for the Take It too. Make sure you guys tune in.
Yeah, that's what you call a tease, ladies and gentlemen. Brittany, always good to see you.
Good to see you guys.
See you in about 12 minutes.
Literally on the other side. Catch me there.
All right, guys, we'll take a
Bye.
quick break. We'll be right back. All right, guys, it's a special day right here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. Well, any day the media prince joins us, it's special. But when it's in studio, it's even more special. Good to see you,
It's
sir.
good to be seen. Feels good to be here at the live.
You are officially live.
We are really live in the zone.
It just doesn't feel right unless you do that, media prince. So truly appreciate that. Hey, man, congratulations going out to you in a major way. Take a look at that. You have been selected as the top 27 finalists for Black Justice Fellowship. Excuse me, sir.
Thank you so much. Yes, it was a lot of us, but now I need you guys, you see that link that you're looking at? I need you to go vote, join the space now, join the community, vote for me, because we're trying to get to the top 10. The top 10, the finalists get to walk away with 10 grand, and that 10 grand gets to help the community in all different facets of giving back. So we're excited for that.
Okay, so if I vote 10,000 times, can I just get like $100?
You might. We might can work something out.
You see how we do? Everybody's always won something. Congratulations, my
Thank you
friend.
so
You're doing so
much.
many amazing things.
Yeah.
All right, let's jump right into it. In this case, we're going to kick it off with Tyler Perry Oh gosh, yet again facing some backlash, if you
Always.
will, ahead of the premiere of his new movie, Straw. Now, the film stars Taraji P. Henson. Hey, we know her, hailing right here from the nation's capital. Centers around a single mom who world unravels in chaos. Fans, however, are saying, hold up, wait a minute. Mr. Tyler Perry, you stereotype a lot of your actresses. In this case, Taraji P. Henson, saying that she looks sad, stressed, and worn down in every movie. What are you thinking about this?
I mean, it's a Tyler Perry movie. You have, the look is to look stressed down, worn out. I mean, come on now, you act like you never seen a Tyler Perry movie before. But I think also too, Tyler Perry spoke candidly about this, that he creates his movie from the perspective of the women he saw in his neighborhood growing up. He didn't grow up with a silver spoon, so he can't really anchor that message all the time, but he can anchor the message of what he saw, trials and tribulations. And so this is another role that does just that. And Taraji said they did this in 4 days, so while y'all pooping and hollering at us, we were done in 4 days and back to our regular lives. So you guys can continue to make press for us, because the movie is shot and done, and you guys are definitely going to make it #1, even though they say they're not going to watch.
I see what you're saying there. You know, do what you know, and in this case, that's what he knows. It would be, you know, it's not as if he's doing a movie about outer space. Not to say he doesn't know it, but he hasn't been there, to my knowledge, and so why would he do something like that? He's sticking to something that he's well versed at. By the way, speaking of Taraji P. Henson, you were just with her, weren't you?
Yes, at the Can We Talk Symposium. It's after her father, the Boris L. Henson Foundation. It was at Oxon Hill High. Yeah, you saw me with Michael Rayner, and that's Dr. Jay Bennett. And there's Taraji in the background. It was so great to just see how the symposium has really strengthened, and now it's garnering to the youth. It was at Oxon Hill High School, her alma mater, and the youth got to really partake in what it is to dive into the mental health world. So there were therapy sessions, planting sessions. I even did a sound bath. Media Prince took his shoes and socks off and his hat and his glasses. You might even have heard me snore. If you have those videos, I will send a cease and desist, okay?
You'll be spending that 10 grand on getting rid of those videos, I guarantee it. Congratulations,
Thank
man.
you
You were
so
always
much.
entrenched in the community, and yet again, the proof is in the pudding, and we saw it right there.
Yes.
All right. Well, it's safe to say that 59-year-old Halle Berry apparently enjoyed her Mother's Day. She posted this video Sunday night showing her laying in bed with her boyfriend. Now, the two appear to be topless media prints, with the covers obviously pulled up on them. At one point, Berry said, "I showed you all how my Mother's Day started, and now I'm going to tell you about how it's going to end," to which her boyfriend said, "Hurry up." Do you love her being so candid with regard to her relationship?
It's a little cringy, but you know, it's Halle Berry, and you just have to take what she gives us. I think she's also showing us as she gets older, she's more carefree and can care less about public opinion. I think we even saw her take a tumble at an award show within recent years and get up and like, she's just really in a space where she's bringing in her sarcastic humor. She's bringing us more into her life. So though it is a cringe, because, you know, you want to keep Halle Berry where you would keep her at, because this kind of put her in the, oh, she's a mom category. Like, it kind of gave that cringy part to it. But aside from that, I like the space that she's in. She's having fun. She's not taking herself seriously. And she clearly has a partner that doesn't mind joining in on the fun. No pun intended.
Yeah. I like that. I see what you did right there. What's that song? I'm living my best life. That's exactly what she's doing in a major way. And you think of all those failed relationships. Gosh, I could go all the way back to the 90s. I don't want to date myself, but Justice from the baseball player. Remember him? Eric Benet. I can go on and on. But
I had high hopes for her and Eric Benet, though.
But to see her finally happy, that's just so cool, especially in this day and age.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to Toni Braxton. Well, we got a lot of locals today that we're talking about. In this case, facing backlash for what she wore to her son's graduation from where? Ain't you? You're supposed to say you know.
You know.
Take a look at it. What are you thinking about that?
I think it's Toni Braxton being Toni Braxton. I mean, she's going to show up and show. I think she dresses like this to go grocery shopping. So I definitely know she would come like this to a graduation. And if it's her chance to be seen. I think she knows at this point she looks hot.
Yeah.
And this is probably the hottest she's been, and she keeps getting hotter. So I think Toni Braxton likes when she's outside. You need to see this as Toni Braxton, and don't play with it. Come get with it.
I
And
like
so,
that.
you know, that graduation was just another meal ticket on the table for her to go and show the platter of what she is. And I know it probably also felt good to know that, you know, she had all the young boys' head turned.
About 3 or 4 years ago, she paid a visit to the radio station I was at, PGC, and she was dressed like that.
That's great. Ask what she had on.
Yeah, just like that. I'm thinking, dear God, this is radio. No one's really looking, but to your point, you're right. I think she would wear that to the grocery store.
She said, someone's looking. Someone had to open the door. Someone had to walk me in, and you guys see me.
That someone was me. All right, let's end with this, and that is what happens when a sweet gesture turns sour. Apparently, that's the case for Usher, who's facing some criticism after repeatedly trying to feed cherries to a fan who turned out to be allergic. Now, the incident happened over the weekend in London. Usher has incorporated feeding cherries into his performances since his Vegas residency back in 2022. Uh-oh, sounds like a big mistake for Usher.
Of course, but you can't fault Usher. He's been taking this cherry. This cherry has seen a lot of countries so far, right? He's been, it's part of the act. Of course, he probably should ask if what fruits are, if people are allergic. I don't know how you would do that, though.
Yeah.
Maybe, I guess, when you purchase a ticket, just letting you know, like, hey, these fruits will be used in the show.
Yeah.
If you're allergic, please tap him and he'll walk past. Something like that. Maybe you may have to do that on Ticketmaster. But, you know, I don't fault Usher. He didn't know. He does this at all his shows, and it's become a viral thing. So everyone knows that the cherry is coming, and they're hoping that it's coming in their way. He just so happened to get somebody that's allergic. But I didn't even know people get allergic to cherries.
That's the first thing I thought about. Who is allergic to cherries?
Oh, and of course they'd be in London, right?
Yeah.
Because in America, everyone eats cherries.
Media Prince, you are always on the move. Busy this weekend as well.
Yes. Generation DMV. We have a mental health conference and panel this Saturday in Bowie, Maryland. You guys can see that on your screen now. You still can get tickets, but hurry up because there's only a little bit left. But it's an amazing panel, a bunch of black men that get to share their stories on mental health in a safe space that feels protected for us.
Absolutely love it. Giving back in a major way.
Shout out Generation DMV.
There you go. All right, Media Prince joining us for a little celebrity dish on a Tuesday, literally live
in the zone.
All right, guys, the Media Prince, we love him. Here's the take.
Tuesday, and on a day like today, there is nowhere else you should be but at home watching us here on Fox 5. Welcome into the Take It 2. I'm Marina Morocco. Hopefully, we're going to bring some sunshine into your living rooms here. Let's get it started with all our hot takes. Let's bring in our Sharon Raget here.
Hey.
Bring in some sunshine on a day